Hi, friends. This is a special edition replay of a conversation I had with Natalie de Minaur talking about pivoting in your career with confidence and redefining success. I will tell you, I am in the middle of an enormous pivot. More to come on that. I will be sharing all of the behind the scenes and the transition as we go. But I thought, what perfect timing for a podcast when it originally aired that was such a success to play again here today. So, without further ado, please take a listen. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. How have you been? I have been busy, I have to tell you. Lots of travel over the past couple of weeks and a few more weeks to go. In fact, I've had the opportunity this weekend to have an amazing view of the mountains in Denver. Full transparency, I'm in my room now looking at the amazing parking lot, but we take advantage of the views when we are able to get them, right? And today, I want to take advantage of sharing this conversation with you because I believe this is such an important discussion where Natalie and I, a Medtronic colleague, talked about the power to pivot and really having the courage to believe in yourself. And it is such a beautiful reminder that success does not have to look one way, right? And during this conversation, we talked about Natalie's story. She had so many opportunities to pivot, to say yes to growth, to trust those pivots, and really allow curiosity to lead the way. And if you have ever felt that pull towards something new, you know, that voice that tells you, maybe it's possible, but also the voice that says, wait, are we really going to do this? Do we really think we can do this? This episode is for you. And I know we have all had that conversation in our head. So I want you to, as always, take what lands for you and start to implement something different. Let this conversation inspire you to take the leap, to trust your rhythm, and to remember the life you desire is truly built one brave choice at a time. So without further ado, please take a listen. Okay, this is going to be so much fun. Thank you for being here. Can you get us started by introducing yourself in a way that you most enjoy?
Sure. Well, I'd like to introduce myself as a goofball mum of three very spirited kids, because that is the kind of the main anchor point of my life. But my name is Natalie de Minaur. I'm a senior product manager for the aortic and peripheral vascular business here in Australia and New Zealand. So I'm in the marketing team. And I recently relocated back to Sydney, Australia from 7 years living in the US. I lived all across the US. So started in Maryland, down to Arizona, back to Maryland again in fields or in different field sales roles. But then most recently, I left a global product manager or marketing role within the cardiac diagnostics business for Link ICM. And I was the AI launch lead there. But, you know, after some time in the US, longer than we had planned, and coming back with an extra child, we decided to relocate and you know, get back home and kind of lay down some roots back in Sydney with around family and friends.
I think your story is so inspiring because you really have kind of stepped into taking the different roles and moving to different locations. And that really takes a lot of courage, I would say, especially when you have family involved. So how do you think, how have you been able to kind of build your courage, build your confidence in making all of those moves?
Well, you're right. I've definitely moved around quite a lot, not only across OUs, but across the country and the world a few times over. And it was most definitely a long journey to get to this point in my life and my career to feel really clear about the value that I bring, and to feel really clear about, where I want to go. Um, and it was a long journey to kind of really develop that belief in myself and to really challenge myself to kind of grow and get to this point. Most of my career has been in field sales roles. And through those years of pregnancy and maternity leave and moving to support my husband's career, I felt really frustrated that I just wasn't getting to where I wanted to be. And that I was, my career wasn't really in my own hands. I'm not sure if that makes sense. I just didn't feel like I had that enough traction or enough tenure in a role or enough experience. But ultimately, what I realized after some personal work is that I just didn't have enough confidence in myself, and enough kind of self-belief in my abilities. So that took a fair bit of work, to kind of really stand back what I have achieved in my career, although it didn't look like what I thought it might, or it wasn't at the same speed or trajectory as those around me. And so I think once I took stock of what I can do, that really gave me that launch pad to start to challenge myself and really make it known what I wanted to achieve. There I do want to kind of get into that leadership, but that can look different. And my own path, and my own kind of journey, is exactly that. It's my own. So I think taking stock of, and being true to yourself is really important to kind of develop your own confidence and just go at your own speed.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. I think that's what all of us need to do the work on, is understanding and recognizing the value that we already have within ourselves and being able to lead from that place. And that's not always easy. So you talk about having the clear path and knowing what you want. And I think that's something that oftentimes, women don't necessarily take the time to really sit and think about. And you mentioned, comparing yourself to others. And I think an important thing to consider is how do we define success? So a lot of times, and especially being a mom, I think I've talked to a number of women who say, I started out and I was a rep and I was top rep, and then I was a mom and had to deal with I didn't want the late cases. And now how do I kind of, show up as a team member? But I'm you get to define success in a way that works for you in every season of your life. It doesn't have to be like others. It doesn't even have to be like yourself from months ago, right? So how do you think your idea of success has evolved? And I love the idea of us stepping into wild success. What would that be for you?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me is giving myself grace. So I talked about, taking stock of my achievements. That was not only the kind of the professional achievements, but the personal achievements. And it's kind of instead of looking at, I guess, the results, it's important to look at the output to get there as well. And everything that is going on in your life, being able to kind of give yourself grace, recognition of where you're at, and that's okay. For me, I think success used to look like a certain title, a certain career level, progress that looks kind of linear. But these days, I guess where I'm at now is that a swirly career path is super valuable, and it may look very different to others, but that gives you a different depth to what you can bring to the table, and a different perspective. And once I was able to value that, I think that was really, really key. And then, I think mindsets, leadership doesn't have to be that title. Um, I I made a really clear, and this really came from the Women in Leadership that we took a couple of years ago in Orlando. That leadership can be, you know, and you can be an individual contributor and really take a stand to be a leader for your peers and those around you. So once that kind of sunk in, I realized that I wanted to kind of be a role model and to show others that you don't need to put, swipe family aside and just have that focus on career. And, it didn't have to look like what that vision of success and, career goal that I had in my mind, that it can look different. You can kind of set the standard for yourself. You can set boundaries for yourself. And once you're able to do that, it makes it really clear to everyone around you. And then you can show up as the best person that you can be, and kind of have your priorities right and not feel like you're kind of running from pillar to post to kind of, achieve something that is just not necessarily realistic, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's so there's so many great nuggets in there because I do think that oftentimes we look towards external for validation, right? Like we look at the titles and the numbers and the awards, and truly it is when you're able to come within. And I love what you're talking about as far as like showing up as a leader. Same thing, right? I'm an individual contributor, but we can show up in any room as a leader. You don't need that title in order to, be that role model for others. So I love that you're talking about that. And I also wonder, because you've talked a lot about doing the personal work and kind of shifting your thoughts. The other thing I love is the idea of like divine timing, right? Like when we can look back on it, we're like, oh, it makes sense that that's how that happened because then I was able to, take this path or whatever. So if we just trust it, where do you think, and you've talked about recognizing your accomplishments, have there been any other like mindset shifts or habits to really keep you grounded in that knowing?
Yes. So I think for me personally, and I'm a bit of an oversharer, and that's okay because I think it's important that you share challenges as well with others. I think for me, getting an adult diagnosis for ADHD was really important because I had a lot of kind of self-limiting beliefs. Once we kind of moved through that, and then I was able to kind of just accept, that my brain works differently from others. That I was able to then kind of lean into strengths, but also acknowledge, some areas that I'm not great at, but then find ways to work around that. And I think the other part is to ask for help. I've never been good at that because I've always been, so focused on trying to show that there are no gaps in or chinks in the armor. And so that's an ongoing work in progress, asking for help, especially after spending 7 years without family and friends or a network around us, coming back and then having family around, but then just not being used to asking for the help. I still have to remind myself, but I think really kind of giving yourself the compassion to say it's okay, you can't achieve it all on your own all the time, and to kind of, to ask for that help is really important to be able to protect your energy, to protect, just being able to go the distance when you have a lot on your plate.
Yeah, I love that. That's the work I think so many of us are working on is being able to ask for the help, right? I know for myself too, like the whole receiving, asking and receiving, not feeling like, oh, I shouldn't ask them. But I love the idea of like us being vessels. And when you talk about energy, right? Like we can be the light for others, and we can only do that if we're able to have the capacity to also receive in order to expand and give it back is what I like think is magic for us.
Yeah.
And that's so important to like the wellness, because you talked about like asking for help, you've talked about boundaries, and I think the wellness component is so important. And I love thinking about wealth and wellness. And I don't think that they have to be separate. I think that wealth can look like a number of things. It doesn't have to just be financial, right? It can be abundance. So when you're looking back, what do you think are your like richest areas of your life, and how do you kind of look at wealth and day to day? I just want to dig into these conversations
Yeah.
more, because I think that women are not always also, when we talk about receiving, right, so open to receiving money because we feel like we have to do. And so I think like the idea of wealth can be so fun.
Yes. And that's so interesting. Again, I always felt like um I was terrible at, asking for what I felt like my value was. And I have gotten a lot better at that over the years, and kind of really standing strong and recognizing my worth from a kind of career and remuneration perspective. But at the same time, what is, for me at least, what is critical after kind of being on that treadmill and chasing that kind of career growth is that, ultimately, my husband and I kind of stood back in the US and realized that we didn't have the balance right. We were working too much. We weren't showing up in our lives for our kids as the parents that we wanted to be, and we weren't kind of giving them. We weren't fulfilling that vision that we had of family life. And so that was the catalyst really to kind of head back home and have more support. So I think that, really kind of taking the time to understand what lights you up or gives you energy as well, and what just recharges you, and really kind of carving out time for that is really important. I think for me, family life is kind of the center of my universe. And so I find, that very fulfilling, being around people who I care about and who care about me, is really important. The other part is, I moved from a role, or the last role that I moved from had a fantastic title, the word global in it, feels really important. And moving to a local market is a really different experience. The scope of the work is really different, and the kind of reach of the impact is different too. We're a much smaller market here in Australia. But at the same time, it's really rewarding work. And the other part is I am really seeking other opportunities outside of my role specifically, but within Medtronic to find fulfillment. And for me, that is really around kind of supporting ERGs, and how can I devote my time to really kind of share, I guess, the opportunity for development and for growth for others. And so that's how I'm looking for fulfillment and richness in my life. And I think, just being happy with, the things that really do light you up, and kind of taking stock from that perspective, that to me means a lot more than, that big title or that paycheck. So.
Yeah, that is so fascinating. And do you think, I'm curious, like when you talk about it being different from a market standpoint, do you have greater visibility to the impact that you're making because you are local versus like global? Is there any correlation with that?
Um, it's probably the visibility is different, I guess. The stakeholders, and I hate to kind of talk about your peers as stakeholders, but it is different. So I would work more closely with different elements or layers of teams in my previous role. And what is fantastic now is that the field teams are phoning me directly, and I guess I'm getting feedback directly from them as well. I guess there is a lot more transparency as to the impact that I'm making, because what's really lovely is that, the work that I do to put together a workshop or a center of excellence, going along to that workshop, seeing it unfold, and then kind of getting that feedback from the sales teams of, number one, the work that went into it, and getting the thank you so much, and then being able to kind of follow their success, like the impact of that particular experience with that customer, and how that has been able to propel them along, is really valuable too, and really kind of rewarding. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I love that. I love the idea of the ripple effect, and I just feel like that might be an opportunity to really see how you are making such a difference. And I think you're spot on as far as like really assessing like where is our time being spent, because I think especially in this industry, the busy badge of honor, that is like king, queen, whatever you want to call it, and it doesn't have to be. I think when we take the time to look at what lights us up, what drains us, and kind of flip on its head that idea that you have to be doing and going, as opposed to like really finding what is moving the needle, right? Like what is the important thing that needs to be done in order to make a difference. And so when you're looking at your energy bank, I guess, are there certain things that you do to protect your energy, manage your energy, and are there ways you look at it in different seasons of growth for yourself?
Yeah, so I guess I learned that I was lucky to learn that quite early from my last leader, who was very protective of our own bandwidth as well, and she really empowered us to push back on projects that just were busy work and not really valuable or impactful work. So from that perspective, I've been lucky to learn that and feel empowered to do that. And that's kind of put me in a really good stead to be able to kind of prioritize and kind of shelve things and have the confidence to push back and say, you know what, this just isn't possible right now. We will get to it. And I know it's a priority for you, but we need, in the scheme of things, here's where we're focusing. So I think that's really important externally, but also, internally, kind of in the work setting. But I think being able to take time and carve out time. I'm not necessarily a keen or avid exerciser, but I do love gardening, and so
Oh, nice.
so I will say to my husband, like on a weekend, I really just need to get out into the garden. And because he knows that kind of quiet time where my brain's busy, or I guess my mind can kind of go where it needs to and kind of sort through, all of the swooshing thoughts in my mind, but my body's busy doing other things. That can I guess I come out from the garden at the end of the day, feeling energized and refreshed, and whatever that is for you, whether it be yoga or running or reading or, whatever kind of gives you that little spark back, it's really important to kind of find the time, even though time is at a premium, to just give yourself a little bit of a release or a little bit of time to kind of get back to you, because then you kind of recharge those energy stores.
100%. I could not agree more. I feel like and I've said this story before. It's so funny. One of the guys I used to work with years ago, I was doing half marathons and I showed up at work, we met up or whatever. And he was like, "You didn't get your run in today, did you?" I was like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
It's for the best for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I need to be moving. Now, I think everything that you've talked about today is so important, and I'm sure there is somebody listening, if not more than one, who has had that nudge, right? Like maybe there's something more, maybe there's a fear of like, but what if I pivot and it's wrong? Or what if I'm burning out? And you kind of started at what I think is the core of it is like, how would you mentor or what would you suggest to this person to just like step into trusting herself more?
Well, I think that's exactly it. If you have that niggling feeling, that there's just, or that kind of drive in you, or that, there's just something more that you think you could be doing, or that you want to be doing, or kind of a different kind of direction you want to be going in, listen to that. And sometimes that voice of doubt gets far too much airtime. Not sometimes, I think for all of us, it gets far too much airtime. So there are two sayings that I really love, and I tend to get them wrong, but the first one is a lot about kind of fear and listening to fear. So when you give, what is it? I always screw it up, but anyhow, it's along the lines of when you doubt your power, you give power to your doubt.
Ooh, I like that one.
And so for me, that is like, okay, you've got to kind of put that voice away and really kind of just step into the vision that you have for yourself, and really take a chance on yourself and back yourself. So I think that's really, really important. You just have to kind of take that leap of faith and listen to your instinct. And as uncomfortable as that can be, that's where the growth is. And that's what really kind of, for me, I guess I think of my career I've had two kind of very steep phases of growth. And that's when I first started in pharmaceutical sales, and it was all incredibly new, and I was so shy, and I didn't feel like sales was where I should be. But I had a great leader who mentored me and believed in me. And then the next phase was like, I just didn't feel like I was getting the growth that I wanted, and pivoting out of sales and in-house into a marketing role was terrifying. I was 10 years senior to the rest of my team. They all had a marketing degree, and I've been a salesperson, and it was really challenging, but I had to just jump into the deep end and feel wildly uncomfortable. But that's okay. The comfort zone isn't going to kind of get you to where you want to be if you want to stretch and grow. So I think that's really important, to kind of just believe in yourself and just dive in.
Yeah. And you'll be okay. You can live to talk about it.
Nothing is ever permanent. And so, you just kind of get through that challenging time. And then once you're able to kind of look back and see the growth you've had behind you, that is so rewarding. And that gives you that confidence to propel forward even more and to keep going. So, you'll always be okay. And just kind of go with it and believe in yourself.
I love that. I think that is the core of self-confidence, right? Believing you will figure it out. Like, you don't have to have it all figured out. Just believe that you will figure it out. You always do.
Always.
Yeah. Have we missed anything as we kind of close out here?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm full of platitudes and
I could talk forever.
but it's, like, I guess this is what really lights me up. You were talking about wealth, and this sort of conversation is really what fulfills me and makes me feel like I'm leading in some sort of way. For anyone out there who feels like they want to do more and they just don't know if they can do it, you can do it, and that's kind of that's what drives me. So I hope that there's something I've shared from my experience that resonates to somebody, and that they can maybe take one of those little pearls and kind of implement that and get some growth, and kind of that might help get them to where they'd like to be.
Absolutely. I love that. Where can people connect with you?
Well, I'm on Teams and LinkedIn as well. So I still go by my maiden name, which is Natalie de Minaur. So natalie.de.minaur@medtronic.com, or the same on LinkedIn. So please feel free to reach out and connect on Teams if you have any questions, or on LinkedIn. And I'm always happy to give a helping hand or answer any questions that anyone might have.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been a blast.
Thank you, Michelle. It's been a long time coming. I'm so glad that we got to do this today.
Okay, wasn't that so great? There's just so many nuggets in there, and it truly comes down to taking each step with intention and having the belief in yourself that you will always figure it out. That, at the end of the day, is self-confidence. It's not that you have to feel motivated and you have to feel ready to go all of the time. It is just that you know you will always figure it out. You always have your own back. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope you reach out to Natalie. She is amazing. And as always, please feel free to reach out to me directly if you want more free tools and ways to step into this power to do the next evolution of yourself. Please head over to michelleburkecoaching.com/newsletter. Every week I send more free tools and resources and share some fun behind the scenes things that are going on. Again, michelleburkecoaching.com/newsletter. Okay, friends, that's what I have for you this week. Let's meet back next. But for now, make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.